Welcome back to practice. In today's vinyasa class, we will be exploring changing direction, so going from open hip to closed hipped poses. We'll also work with some balance and get ourselves into an arm balance. To begin the practice, you can come to child's pose. From child's pose, feel the belly settled in between the thighs and breathe into it. As you're breathing into the belly, allow some of the breath to expand into the upper back, into the sides of your body. Connecting with the idea of three-dimensional breathing. When you inhale, all sides expand out. And when you exhale, all sides draw in. If you are practicing ujjayi, you can layer that in here using throat to hug breath. Keep the waves of breath full and deep. And walk your hands back about 2 hand prints. So your chest is now raised up away from the ground. Your lower back is still like long with the hips down on towards the heels. And then in this like raised up child's pose, do some cat-cow movements. And you might feel like a limitation in the ability to move your spine. It might not feel as free as when you're in tabletop. And you may even notice that you have a view about this. Well, in cat-cow, the spine should be free. And it's not, so this is wrong. So these prisons of the views of how we think things should be. Attachment to our way or the one way. As you next round, push your hands forward and away from you. Draw your front ribs way the heck back. Create a lengthening of your buttocks underneath towards the heels. And take a few breaths with this concave chest. And then go slack in the spine, so letting go of that intense rounding, and then shift forward into regular tabletop. So shoulders beneath the wrists, knees under hips, the rules, right? And then start to move your shoulder blades in the 4 directions that they move. So start with shrugging the shoulder blades by the earlobes. And then create a sinking of rib cage and chest to the floor. So the shoulder blades gather together behind you. And then slide the shoulder blades down the back, more towards your tailbone, more towards your outer hips. And then pull your chest adamantly away from your wrists so you create a broadening in the upper back. And do it a couple times. Shrug up, so that's called elevation. Sink the chest, which pulls your shoulder blades into retraction. Slide the shoulder blades down towards the outer hips. That's called depression. And then as you pull your chest away from your wrists, the shoulder blades protract. Right? Do one more time slow. Shrug up, sink down, slide the shoulder blades down towards the hips, and then dome in the upper back. And then see if you can get like a flow going. So it's going to happen fast. Shrug, drop, drag, lift. Shrug, drop, drag, lift. And you might even hear some noises as your muscle layers shear past each other to bring you through like this shoulder rolling action here in tabletop. From that smooth circling, shoulder rolling, come back to doming the upper back. So the chest pulling away from the wrists. Then take your right leg back behind you with your toes tucked under. Keep the shoulders and the core stable. Lift your right leg up. And then bend the knee. And then do a little bit of kicking the heel up to the ceiling until you feel your glute on the right side fire. And then bring it back down by a couple of inches. So like a shallow version of a donkey kick. And do that like 4 or 5 times here with this right leg. So we're waking up our butt. Then release the right knee down under the right hip. Keep the shoulders and core stable. Elevate the left leg, toes tuck under, then lift it, then bend the knee. And go up by 3 and down by 3. Notice how your belly wants to drop. Your rib cage might want to sag towards the floor. So be aware of pulling the rib cage up away from the ground. And then release the left knee under the left hip. And then point your right toes, lift your shin, right? Almost like you're bringing your heel to your butt, and swivel your shin out and in. So it's kind of like using your knee as a little pivot point, right? To kick the leg out, which is internal rotation, to pull the shin in, which is actually external rotation. So warming up through the hip in this pattern of out and in. Come back to center. Really pull your heel to your butt. Feel your hamstring wake up. And as you exhale, release the shin back to the floor. Point your left toes quite a bit, so create a dramatic ballerina point. Pull your heel towards your butt, and then use your knee as that swivel point to turn the lower leg out and to swing the lower leg in. You can feel how this is happening from inside of the hip. Bring it to center, pull the heel towards the butt till you feel your hamstring light up. And then release your shin to the floor. Raise the right leg up and back like half of a sunbird. Swing your left shin into the middle and start to tap your right toes over to the back left-hand side of your yoga mat and then to the right-hand back side of your yoga mat. So you're crossing your own midline. And how far across the midline can you go? Like, can you reach all the way to like your floor outside of your mat back there? And then maybe you go a little bigger over here. Raise the leg so it's hovering parallel to the ground. Unswing the left shin. Put your right knee under your right hip. Let's try that on the other side. Left leg goes back. Swing the shin in on a diagonal. And tap to the back right corner of your mat. And then the back left corner of your mat. So you're crossing and uncrossing your midline. And then can you make it bigger? Like go to the floor outside of the yoga mat, back right-hand corner. Floor outside of the yoga mat, back left-hand corner. Bring it all the way back to center. Unswing right shin. Set the left knee under the left hip. Walk your hands forward so there's shoulders behind the wrists, not so much direct pressure on the wrists. Shift forward, tuck toes, raise the hips up and back. First downward dog. And you can pedal your feet or sway your hips side to side. So we've woken up the back of the legs. We've crossed the line of the body, big no-no. Take a deep inhale here in downward dog. And then exhale, walk up, feet to hands. Do a few inhale to lengthen. Exhale to fold. And again, inhale, reach spine away from sitting bones. Exhale and bow in. One more, inhale. And exhale. Bend your knees in this forward bend. And can you feel like the posterior chain of your body? So from your heels, like lengthening up the back of the legs, over the buttocks, over the muscles of the back as you hang. And then keep knees bent, keep head, neck, shoulders, arms heavy, and slowly roll up. Do keep your knees bent, please. Once the spine is stacked on top of the hips, begin to straighten the legs and find standing tall. Exhale all of your breath. Sun salutation, but a little weird. Let's do it together. Inhale, raise your arms. Exhale, bow forward. Inhale and lengthen. Exhale, step to plank pose. In plank, create the protraction, strong legs, strong belly, breathe in. Exhale, lower your knees and come all the way to the ground. Untuck your toes. As you inhale, reach your arms wide to the sides like a T and come up into locust. Raise up like you're flying. Exhale, hands to the breastbone, release down and find your way back into downward facing dog. So in lieu of chaturanga up dog, we are taking a longer plank, a longer descent, and a little bit of locust. Breathe in downward facing. And so the question may arise, well, if I'm not doing chaturanga or knees down, and I'm not doing cobra or up dog, is it still a sun salutation? Are we attached to the view of what a sun salute needs to be? Take a deep breath all the way. Exhale, bend your knees, look forward. Inhale, step or jump. Keep inhaling, lift halfway up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise to the top, reaching. Exhale, returning to mountain pose. Let's take a couple more. Inhale, reach. Exhale, fold forward. Lengthen with inhale. Plank with exhale. Get strong. Pause there. Take a deep breath in. And then lower down. You could do knees or that gradual descent that's a lot like chaturanga, but that goes all the way down. Untuck, arms wide. Lift the spine, lift the legs. Locust. Exhale, hands to ground. Tuck toes, hips back. Downward facing dog pose. Breathe here. So all that work to wake up our butt and to wake up our hamstrings is coming into play here in the locust pose. Deep breath all the way in. Exhale, knees bend, eyes look forward. Inhale, step or jump. Half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise to the top, reaching all the way up. Exhale, return to your mountain. Take your feet as wide as the mat like we did just a few minutes ago. Turn your feet out slightly. Reach back, interlace your hands. So we've got the shoulder stretch and external rotation of the legs. Inhale, lift up through the chin and chest. Exhale, bend your knees a little. Hinge from the hips, push your butt back, and then let yourself fold like right between the thigh bones, taking the arms up and over. Second time, shoulder stretching. Now you could stay still, or you could start to bend your knees a little more deeply, take it down like a half squat, and then raise the hips up, bringing the legs a bit more to straight. Or you can make it more static, where you just hold yourself in this position, take your arms over and breathe. Whether you're doing up, down, or you're just staying still, come back more towards a soft bend in the knees, so legs get a little straighter. Touch the ground, step it back, plank pose, and then lower the knees, coming to table. Untuck your toes, swing your right shin bone out, and create a side plank that has the bottom knee underneath you. Right hand down, right knee down, left arm out, left leg long. And then raise the left leg, float it up away from the floor. Feel the length from the left armpit all the way to the outer edge of your left foot. Start to take your left leg forward in front of you. So you get really asymmetrical. And then land your left foot to the floor. Come up to half kneeling, gate pose. Left hand against the left leg, side bend, up and over to the left. Breathe into the opening that's occurring along the right hand side of your body. Start to lean forward, touch ground, both hands, step your left knee under your left hip, back into table. And then swing your left shin bone out, right, that pivot outward. Set up side plank, right leg long. Left knee under left hip, left wrist under left shoulder. Explore reaching through the top arm. Explore floating up, lifted and strong through the right leg. So there's like a line from armpit to outer edge of foot. Then make it weird. Take your leg in front of you, so it's hip flexion. Land the foot, toes pointing towards front of your yoga mat. Coming up to gate pose. Right hand against right leg, side bend up and over to the right. Explore opening through left side body from like the outer hip up the line of the rib cage towards armpit, along the outer line of the arm to the fingertips. And start to lean your body's weight forward. The trunk goes forward, hands to floor, right knee under right hip. Find your way up and back, downward facing dog. And use the length you just created through gait. So hips drag back and arms reach forward. Take a deep breath all the way in. Exhale, knees bend, eyes look forward. Inhale, step or lightly jump. Keep inhaling, lift halfway. And exhale, fold. Inhale, reach all the way to the top. Exhale, release your arms. In whatever mountain pose you're in, whether it's feet at hips distance or feet close together, bend your knees, create like a tiny chair. So it's not your deepest chair. It's like you rested your butt on the edge of a counter. And then shift the weight into your right leg. Put both hands against your right thigh. So you've hinged forward, you're bracing against the right thigh. Lift up through the left foot and start to lean forward, reach the left leg back. And then bring it forward, put the foot back to the floor. So you float it with a deeper bend of the knee. You extend from the hip back, you're keeping your right leg loaded. And then come back to that shallow chair with hands bracing thigh. Do that one more time. Lift up through the left foot, pull the heel a little to your butt. Lean forward more, brace against your thigh. Now reach your left leg way the heck back there. Bend your front knee even more and land back into high lunging. You can stay higher, you could go low, putting the back knee down on the floor. Keep right hip held into its position. If you lower the back knee, lift it up, come back to high lunge, release the hands down, touch ground. Turn your back foot all the way down, and then turn the back foot in a little bit. Here we go with my views, my rules. Find your way into triangle pose. Right hand, right shin, or right hand to the ground or block, left arm to the sky. And explore the reach of your limbs. Keep right hip held in that strong position you had it when you were doing high lunge. And then bring your left hand to your hip. If you're using a block for half moon, here's a good time to grab it. Bend your right knee, right hand or block out towards upper right corner of the mat. Transition to half moon pose. Reach the top arm. Can you find the length from armpit to the outer edge of the foot? Just like you were doing in that modified version of side plank with the leg lifted. Changing direction with the hips. Touch the floor with the left hand. Square your hips downward. And here we are, standing split. Explore this. So right hip is still held in position. Left leg can kick up and back. Then start to soften through your right knee and land your left leg back about 3.5 to 4 feet away from your front heel. Turn that back foot in a 45-degree angle. Hands to hips rise up towards pyramid. And check your stance. Do you need it bigger? Do you need it wider? So you can break the rules here. It doesn't have to be front heel, back heel. It can be right leg over here, left leg over there. Work with finding forward facing through pubic bone, belly button, center of the chest, and nose. Inhale, reach the arms. Exhale, bow out and over, forward and down, fingertips to ground or hand to shin. And just explore hugging right hip in and back. Some of you may be folding forehead more towards right shin as right hip hugs in and back. Then bend front knee, step to the front of the yoga mat, standing forward fold. Legs strong into the earth. Inhale, reach all the way up. Exhale, arms release by your sides. Come into your shallow butt resting against the counter edge chair pose. Bring both hands to brace against the left thigh. Hinge forward a little more. So stabilize everything in the left leg. Lift the right heel up. Kick it towards your butt. Extend back. And then bring it back, knee forward, foot to the floor. Transfer weight into left leg, bend right knee, extend back. Bring the knee back to where it was and land the foot on the floor. This one, we go for it. Pull the right heel up towards your buttocks. Reach back, lean forward, keep reaching back. Long with the right leg, long with the right leg. Land the toes. Hug the hips, find your way up, high lunging. And again, back knee can be placed down to experience that variation. If you did happen to lift the back knee or lower it, raise it up. Back to high lunge and together touch ground. Turn the back foot down slightly angled. Build triangle from the ground up. So rather than standing, reaching, and coming into it, start from down here, hand to shin or hand to floor. Open up through the hips. So from closed to open, top arm to sky. Length of limbs, left hip stable. So this whole sequence requires the stability of hip hugging in. Before it was the right, and here we are with the left. Right hand to hip as we prepare to transition to half moon, moving prop if needed. Bend the left knee, reach out, and come into it. Holding left hip in place. Right leg lifted strong, right arm up. Grow the line from armpit to outer edge of foot. Touch down, standing split from open to closing the hips towards the floor. Explore your standing split. So the tendency is to hang out in the outer hip. So that drawing in is really important. So the pelvis isn't kicked over to one side in standing split. Start to soften through the left knee. Land your right foot for pyramid. And once you've got your legs, the foundation, hands to hips and come up. Check in, do you need adjustment of stance in any way, shape, or form? Forget the rules. Do what helps you to feel strong in the posture. Inhale, raise the arms. Exhale, out, over, forward, and down. Hands can go to the floor or hands against shin bone. You could fold or not. And then bend front knee, ground the palms, downward dog, take it back. And if you're aching for a vinyasa, take one. If you want to try with the locust, inhale, plank. Exhale, lower your way. Fly in locust pose as you're breathing in, and then exhale, downward facing dog pose. Hips go back. From here in down dog, instead of walking forward, which is what we always do, it's the rule. Walk your hands back towards your feet. So walk backwards. Heel toe your feet pretty close together. Bend your knees. Create Utkatasana chair pose, back edge of your yoga mat. Bring your arms into the front plane of your body so they're reaching out in front. Hook your right elbow under your left elbow. Create eagle's wings. And then add right foot lifting up, right leg crossed over the left. Everything conspires to the midline here. So it's all wrapping around the central column. Can you unwrap your right leg, pull the knee towards your chest, and then start to lean forward. Keep your left knee bent as you reach your right leg back behind you. This eagle's wrapped warrior 3. Bend the right knee and bring the right foot back to the ground, parallel to the left. Stand up tall, inhale, reach. Exhale, fold. Take a couple of breaths in standing forward bend. Let's try it on the left side, shall we? Bend your knees, create Utkatasana chair pose. From arms reaching up on a high diagonal, take them in front. And then it's left under right to create the wings, left over right to create the lower body. And there's a squeezing, especially of the hips. Then begin to unwrap the left leg. Pull the knee up towards the chest. Hinge forward. Keep a soft bend in your right knee. Reach way back through the sole of your left foot, taking this into a hybrid of Eagle and Warrior 3 pose. Start to bend the left knee. Bring it forward. Land it down under your hip. Inhale, reach all the way up, unwind. Exhale, bow. Take it forward towards down dog, and you can choose vinyasa with a locust, no vinyasa at all, regular vinyasa. And we'll meet after that in child's pose. If you want to come into child's pose a little early, bring it down. So as we explore new planes and walking backwards instead of forward and turning one pose into the other, do you lose the breath's consistency? Possibly, maybe, yes. So take this time to connect back into the steady flow of the breath. And after you've smoothed the breath's edge, find your way through table and then back into downward facing. Use a breath in and lift the right leg up and back behind you. As you exhale, pull the knee underneath you, step your right foot forward between your hands. Then spin your back foot all the way down. Find extended side angle. You could keep your hand outside of your right foot, top arm overhead, or bring the elbow to thigh, extend left arm over. Feel the length of the left-hand side of your body. And then root down into right foot. Lift up, curl back, windswept. So now we lengthen right side in windswept warrior. With that cartwheeling effect, touch the ground. Right leg lifts, three-legged down dog. Keep side body long, bend your right knee, stack and open the hip so that heel crosses the line of your body and reaches over. And then in a move, can you come to pigeon? Right shin steps underneath. It lands. Left leg moves back. Point your back toes like we were doing earlier with ballerina foot and reach from the front of your left hip out through the 5 toe tips. And then lift from your pubic bone up to your sternum. And then let your throat tip back and your chin lift a little. So creating a back bend of this. And you can feel like the sway in your lower back. Now, chin parallel to the floor, walk your hands forward by a handprint or so. And think tailbone under, like what you do with your pelvis for chair. Tailbone under, slightly hooked towards the pubic bone. So lengthening in the lower back. Keep that, like tailbone under, belly scooping to chest, and walk yourself forward into pigeon. So think of this as like tucking, a tucking version of pigeon rather than a butt sticking out version of pigeon. And if you're not sure, well, what's the difference? Stick your butt way out in pigeon and then try to carve it way underneath you in pigeon. And it changes the sensation of the pose. If your head is down in your pigeon pose, raise it up away from the floor and then drag your right forearm in so the elbow crease is under the front of your shoulder. Do the same thing with your left arm. So think of it as like dolphin arms or railroad tracks. Tuck your back toes under. Keep the tailbone hooked under, so that tuck action. Right leg back, forearm plank. And if you find forearm plank uninteresting, you could sway side to side or forward and back, and it makes it a little more interesting. Then allow your knees to come down. Walk it back. Take child's pose, hips to heels. Breathe there. Find your way up, back, downward facing dog pose. And all those multi-planes, second side. Left leg goes up, reach it. So that feeling like you had in standing split of elevating. Bring the knee underneath you, step your left foot forward. Spin your right foot down. Create your extended side angle. Hand to floor or forearm to thigh. Top arm over, right side body long. From elongation of right side body, lift up, curl back, windswept warrior, left side body long. And then the cartwheel effect to touch ground, left hand, right hand. Elevate left leg up in three-legged down dog. Cross the plane of the body by bending the knee, reach thigh bone and heel up and over to the right. And then in a move, pigeon. So the shin slides under you as your hips level. Shin comes forward and then it lands. Take your back leg back. Back bend first, point the toes. Very intentional back bend. Reach from front of hip out through 5 right toe tips. And then pubic bone lifts, sternum lifts. Pull the throat back, lift up through your chin and nose. Then take it to chin parallel to the ground. Walk forward a handprint. And under with your buttocks, under. Pubic bone scooping to the belly button. Keep that action in the pelvis, walk forward with it. So there's a tone to the muscles in the front of the hips to help lengthen the muscle in the back of the hip. And keep that work of pubic bone carved up towards the chest or towards the belly button. Lay your forearms, ground them. Train tracks or like a dolphin. Tuck right toes, lift right knee, step left leg back, forearm plank. A couple breaths, and if you're like boring, you can go forward and back, side to side, a combo of it all. And then let the knees come down. Untuck toes, walk back. Take it into child's pose, stretch. Hips back, spine forward. And from child's pose, lift your hips off of your feet and then tuck your toes under there. Walk your hands back towards your knees and come up into a feet together, knees wide squat. So the inner border of my feet are touching, but the knees are out to the side, more like butterfly legs. Walk forward, let your head release. Feel a rounding in the spine from the base of the skull all the way to the tailbone. You can stay and explore this, right, this rounded butterfly version of a squat. Or if you'd like to attempt to come into Bakasana, you walk your hands back, raise your hips, work the knees into the upper arms, bring it forward, and pull your shins up. Pull the feet up. And we'll meet back in the squat, toes tucked, knees wide, spine forward. From here, bring it into your last downward dog pose. If you want your last vinyasa, you're welcome to take it. You can do the one that you feel like is normal or the one that has locust in it. And from the downward dog, bring yourself through to seated. It could be a jump or a crawl or a step. Extend your legs in front of you. Find Dandasana or staff pose. So the mid-sit bones are grounded, hands beside the hips. Sometimes if you have really long arms go behind, right? Rather than beside. So the ability to depress the shoulder blades, feel the shoulder blades down on the back. And then take the right foot, the sole of it, to the inside of your left thigh. And raise your arms. Breath in. As you exhale, just like in that forward fold or pyramid, it's out, it's over, it's forward, and then it's down. So there's an arc pattern as you come into head to knee forward fold. You may catch your foot, hold your shin, or lay your hands beside the left leg. Use the next inhalation to lengthen. Think of like upper back and neck getting long. Exhale and come all the way up. And then bend your left knee so the sole of the foot is down, but the left knee is pointing up. Catch your hands under your feet, so do a little interlace. Thigh bone to you, shin bone parallel to the floor. And Are you rounded in the spine? And if you are, you like lift your chest towards the knee as you draw the arm bones back into retraction of the scapula. You could stay here or you go up on the high diagonal with the leg, continuing to work with shoulder blades retracted and depressed, finding the height of the spine. So this variation of heron's pose, the bird heron. Bring it back to a left bent knee if you're not already exploring that variation. And then put your left foot on the floor. Drag your right heel in really close to your groin. So think heel right into your junky junk. And then pull the left heel back, way back. So the knee is standing straight up. Left hand behind you, right arm hooks outside of the left leg. Take a breath in. Exhale, turn from the navel. And inhale, breathe in again. Get a little taller through the upper spine. And exhale, turn the shoulders and the chest. And then breathe in again. And with this exhale, rotate your chin back towards your left shoulder, coming into the fullness of the twist. Use breath in. Can you find vertical, like a lift up? And exhale, unwind your whole spine. Go back to Dandasana, both legs out in front of you, hands beside your hips. As you press your hands into the floor, either beside or behind, shoulder blades are moving down, sternum is lifting up, you're on the middle of your sitting bones. And then Janu Shirshasana, sole of the left foot inside of the right thigh. Once you have that connection, foot to inner leg, find up with your arms, up with your spine. And then the 4 directions, up, out, over, and finally down. You may hold foot, hold shin, or lay the hands to rest beside the lower leg. And as you next breathe in, lengthen mid-back, upper back, neck, spine. Inhale. Exhale, come all the way up with that length. Bend your right knee, so the foot's down, the knee is up. Catch your hands underneath, do an interlace. Shin bone parallel to the ground. Notice if thigh plugging into you causes you to round, so you draw back on the leg, use it as a traction force to find back and down through the shoulders, chest lifting. And then you stay or you work with high diagonal. And if high diagonal causes you to buckle, right, keep a little bend in the knee, work the length, and then work extending from the sitting bone out through the left heel. Bending right knee if it's not already. And then releasing foot to the ground. The heel that's closest to your groin, pull that one in tight, and then pull the right one in as well. So you have like a vertical right shin. Right hand behind, left elbow outside of the thigh, so it's kind of a very compressed twist. Right? Inhale, find up. Exhale, draw low belly, belly button to the right. Inhale, find up. Exhale, do shoulders, chest. Inhale, find up. And exhale, do chin, back over the right shoulder. And take breath all the way in. Find more vertical. As you exhale, unwind, keep the vertical. Extend the legs so that you have room behind you to come onto your back. And I will implore you to do a slow roll. Right? So no crash landing, like purposely putting tailbone, sacrum, lumbar, thoracic, shoulder blades, back of skull, arms releasing. Walk the heels in so they're closer to your sitting bones. And then take your right ankle, cross it over your left thigh. Thread the eye of the needle so you can lift left foot, reach behind thigh or all the way through to shin. So it's like another variation of pigeon, only we're laying on our back. And then add side to side motion. So that rocking we do in child's pose, add it into eye of the needle. And find the center where you feel like spine is released into the mat. If you're holding your left shin, can you interlace behind the thigh and then send left leg up? So it's one leg straight, one leg crossed over, and then use your right elbow to push your right thigh forward. So you bend your right elbow a little, work it to the inner leg. Can you keep your legs exactly how they're positioned and let go of them? Open your arms wide. Turn it into a twist. Go to the left. Maybe you bend your left knee or maybe you keep the left leg straight. Head to the right, so seeing towards right thumb. Bringing head center, lower body back to the center. Landing the left foot, uncross the right ankle. Switch sides, left ankle over right thigh. Pick up your right foot, thread around, eye of needle to thigh or through to shin. And once you've gathered that in, take it side to side rocking. And then finding center spine relaxed into ground. Change the interlace to behind right thigh, stretch the leg up. Bend your left elbow a little, press against the inner left leg so the thigh bone shifts forward reaching. And can you keep your legs how they are? Let go of them, arms wide or to cactus, and shifting the whole shape to the right. Maybe right knee bends or maybe right leg stays straight as you create this twist, looking towards left thumb. Bring the head to center, lower body, all the way back around. Release right foot, uncross left leg. Notice if in your twisting you got a little weird or like side bent on your yoga mat, find the middle. And then right knee hugged with right hand, left knee hugged with left hand. Do a couple of tense and releases. So tense would be squeeze your legs into your body. And release would be keep holding your knees but relax that effort. Do it a couple of times. Squeezing in, tight hug. Letting go, loose hug. One more time. Squeezing in, tight hug. Letting go, loose hug. Land your feet. And find your way down into the last pose. Stretch the legs long along your yoga mat. Let your arms reside by your sides. Close your eyes. Bring your awareness back to the gentle rhythm of your breath. And find some movement in fingers and toes. Raise your right arm up overhead, let it rest beside you. Bend your knees and then roll onto your side. And take a couple breaths into your spine, into the back of it. Maybe you bring your hand back there and breathe. So you fill out the back of your body with your breath. And take the free hand, press it into the ground, and lift yourself up to seated. And closing your eyes, sitting tall through the spine. Join hands together in this gesture of gratitude. May the merits of the practice we've done here today benefit all beings everywhere. Namaste.